Hey, welcome to Wrestling What Ifs, the series where we take your favorite gimmicks, storylines, and rumors, and then we turn them upside down by asking the golden question, what if?
Hey guys, and welcome back. This is going to be another two-part episode, but different from the last episode. This is actually going to affect both the WWE and WCW. This topic is actually one that made me want to start the series, so it's definitely near and dear to my heart. The topic is, what if Scott Hall and Kevin Nash never left the WWF for WCW? That's right. The move credited with starting the Monday Night Wars never happened, and we're going to witness the aftermath of that. This episode we're going to be focusing on the WWF side of things, and so without further ado, what if Scott Hall and Kevin Nash never left the WWF? First things first, with nobody leaving, there's no curtain call. No curtain call means no repercussions for it, so Hunter Hearst Helmsley is not taken out of the King of the Ring, and he ultimately wins it. That's our first change. With Helmsley winning the King of the Ring, that means no Austin 316 promo or subsequent push for him. Now, at that same pay-per-view, there's a continuation of the feud between Shawn Michaels and the British Bulldog, which had started at the prior pay-per-view. It's the last In Your House. It was titled In Your House 8, Beware of Dog. Now, this whole rivalry only came about because Kevin Nash had left the company. He was actually feuding with Michaels before his departure, and thanks to the Clique's stranglehold on booking, if Nash was still there, he would still be feuding with Michaels. So there we have another change. Now, to keep the feud going with Nash, he's going to have to win the title again, and that probably end up happening at that pay-per-view. The Undertaker is also battling Goldust for the IC title, and I believe that feud would be different. It would actually be Scott Hall facing the Undertaker. That's three differences in one pay-per-view, leaving quite a few guys out of the show. Now, the next pay-per-view is In Your House 9, International Incident. This is going to keep the Kevin Nash versus Michaels feud going with a 3-on-3 tag match, consisting of Nash, Vader, and Yokozuna versus Michaels, Sid Justice, and Ahmed Johnson. It's also going to introduce the King of the Ring Helmsley versus Goldust for the Intercontinental title feud. There's going to be a casket match with Scott Hall and Undertaker. And now, Stone Cold, who was less bionic redneck and more Criminal Minds reject prior to this time period, is still not getting much exposure and therefore is not getting over with the fans. At SummerSlam, the Clique is still running hot as Helmsley has the IC title and is feuding with Goldust still. Scott Hall has taken on Vader instead of Michaels in this universe, and the Nash-Michaels feud is still there. The only thing that hasn't changed is the start of the Mankind-Undertaker feud. Flash forward to the next pay-per-view. It's another In Your House. Back then, if it wasn't one of the Big Four or King of the Ring, it was an In Your House. So we get Michaels as champ now going against Scott Hall, and that means no Mankind versus Michaels. Instead, it's Mankind versus Diesel, and it's a squash match. Helmsley is battling Taker for the IC strap and wins against him. Over all of this is the type of booking that you would see for the rest of 1996, with the Clique riding high and other superstars doing the job for them or just not even being on the show. With this happening, there's no Bret Hart battling Austin for the number one contenders title at Survivor Series. Most likely it's going to go to Hall or Nash, whichever isn't going against Michaels that night. And then there's no reason for Michaels to lose to Sid for the championship, as either Nash or Hall would be available to pick up the belt from Shawn. And that brings us to the Royal Rumble 1997. Now, in our world, Stone Cold wins. But in this universe, it's going to be Helmsley. He was the King of the Ring and then the Intercontinental Champion. And since Bret Hart was nowhere near the main event, there's no Michaels injury, no Finding My Smile speech, and the build to WrestleMania 13 is straight as a Helmsley versus Michaels feud is pushed big. In the mid-card, you have Nash versus Sid Justice and Scott Hall versus Mankind for the Intercontinental Championship. Now this, of course, means there's no Bret Hart versus Stone Cold and no big double turn. So Austin's still stuck in the mid-card, and Bret, he starts to consider other options, as do many from the locker room. Helmsley's going to win the title from Michaels, so there's no Sid versus Taker for the title, and Taker's going to challenge Helmsley for the title at the next In Your House pay-per-view. Michaels is going to move on to a lackluster feud with Sid, while Nash and Hall go on to feud with each other, leaving Mankind to fall further down the card as he isn't used as much. This is going to continue for the majority of 1997, with the Clique's political maneuvering backstage rubbing many the wrong way. That's ultimately going to result in the departure of guys like Vader, Sid, and Bret Hart over to WCW. Now that's going to be no Montreal Screwjob, so no Evil McMahon character, and no Austin title reign the next year. Also during this time, you've got Rocky Maivia debuting, but he's subsequently going to be buried by the Clique, resulting in him being stuck in the mid-card with Austin. By 1998, Michaels decides to take some time off, but the rest of the Clique, they're still going to be running strong. Helmsley and Nash are going to feud, trading the title back and forth with occasional appearances by guys like Mankind and The Undertaker in the title scene. Scott Hall, unfortunately, is still not going to be where he wants to be in the company. He's going to go overboard with his substance abuse he was battling at the time and ended up getting written off TV to fight his demons in rehab. Now, since there's no formation of DX and no Nation of Domination as Ahmed Johnson leaves the WCW, the Clique's going to come together upon Scott Hall's return and form a DX-style staple. It's just not going to be the same, though. The product's going to get even more stale than before, and without the catalyst for the Attitude Era, the WWE is going to continue to lose money, and eventually The Undertaker is going to end up taking a big run with the title, allowing for the Kane storyline to come to fruition. Kane's going to beat Taker, and he's going to get a run with the title. He's going to battle both Helmsley and Nash for it, but Nash is going to overcome him, making Kane look really weak, and Kane's momentum's never going to recover from that. Nash is going to drop the belt to Hall, who is a lackluster champion, and at the WrestleMania of 1999, he's going to try to recreate the Michaels ladder match, but with Hunter Hearst Helmsley that time. It's going to fall flat. With no Attitude Era, they're going to lose viewers to ECW and WCW, and there's going to be no buyout in 2001. Stars like Big Show, Eddie Guerrero, Chris Jericho, and Chris Benoit are never going to jump ship. It's going to leave them lacking coming into the new year. Now, eventually, Stone Cold and The Rock, they are going to rise to the top of the card, but it's going to be in the mid-2000s, and the matches just aren't going to have the same effect as they did in our world. With no WCW buyout of 2001, there's no Ric Flair in WWE. So in 2004, the top of the card is basically going to have Stone Cold, The Rock, Mankind, and Undertaker. That's going to be about it. The tag team division is going to languish as there's no big injection by the Dudleys, the Hardys, and Edge and Christian. The WWE are never going to become a public company, and they're going to continue drawing decent but not huge crowds into the new millennia. Now, okay guys, there you have it. Basically, if Hall and Nash never jump ship, then the Clique still runs the locker room, leading to the same old matches. Young stars aren't allowed to rise, and there's no big push against the WCW, which helped to create the Attitude Era. With no Attitude Era push in the envelope, the product suffers and there's no rating boom. Basically, if Hall and Nash stay in WWE, they never reach the heights that it's at today. Whether it's for good or bad, that's definitely debatable, and it's a story for another day. Anyway, what do you think this can be, or it's just a fantasy? It's just one fan's opinion of what if.
Thanks for watching, and if you like what you saw, comment, click the like button, subscribe, and even click that notification icon. Now, thanks again, and I'll see you next time for another episode of What If.